If you're wanting to know how to build a hugely profitable business, then Jim Beach and the School for Startups is your connection. Listen up. Do you want to make more money? You can't make more money without enough prospects. You don't have enough prospects unless your calendar is full. You can't fill your calendar unless you talk to and qualify enough people. Learn the art of filling your calendar with my 3 Minutes to Yes course. Look in the show notes for the link. Hey, I'm Steve Sapato, and you're listening to the Know, Like, and Trust podcast. And today, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to build your business, I have the expert that you really need to connect with. So, Jim Beach, are you there?
I am, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And Jim and I are both business coaches, and Jim is so successful, he wants to help you be more successful. And that's the key to what we all do, isn't it, Jim?
Definitely. You have to share the love.
So tell us a little bit about you. How did you get into this, and why are you so successful at
Well, I don't know about the successful part. I wanted to be the CEO of Coca-Cola, and
it?
Coca-Cola decided that they didn't want me to be their CEO and escorted me out of the building. And at the young age of 23, I had a crisis of identity and didn't know what I wanted to do. And
Oh,
someone suggested that I wanted to be an architect, so I should go back to architecture school. So I decided to do that, but I
really?
needed some money to pay for it. And so I started a summertime business so I could go to school during the winter. And I made a list of summer businesses, and summer camps was on that. And I decided to start a summer camp back in 1993. We started at MIT and Stanford and had uh, a program that was commensurate with those locations.
Okay,
And
hold on. You
absolutely
said you said summer camp. We think boys out playing in the river. What do you
no,
mean by summer camp?
this is kids sitting in a room learning how to code computers, learning HTML,
Very
learning
cool.
how to edit movies, all of the computer related things. So
Cool.
Stanford and MIT were locations that made sense. Well, we eventually grew to 89 locations at every major university in a big city in the United States, plus also in Canada and the UK as well.
Wow.
And it was, big business. We were doing 15,000 kids a day, every day.
Ooh.
And when I was 31, had the opportunity to sell that and get out. And so I did that and then started teaching entrepreneurship at Georgia State. And when I was teaching, I made a bet with my class, and that bet ended up being interesting enough that there was a book written about it. I bet my class that I could start a business that semester, make it cash flow positive that semester, and they got to choose the country and the industry. So they chose Pakistan and furniture. So I had 3 months to build a profitable Pakistani furniture company. Uh,
No, no challenges there, huh?
yeah, I actually did win the bet. And if you want to see the product, you can go to my LinkedIn profile and go to the experiences and scroll all the way to the bottom back 30 years, and you will see the beautiful chairs that we made. And I won the bet, and a reporter heard about that and said that would be an interesting book. And so I made him a bet that if he could get us a publisher, I would write the book. Well, a week later, Steve, we had McGraw-Hill, the most
Oh,
prestigious publisher out there.
wow.
So wrote a book for McGraw-Hill on startups, and it did well. And that turned into a radio show, and now I'm on 100 stations 5 days a week talking anything related to entrepreneurship.
Okay, I'm going to pause here because I want people to listen and go, if you've ever looked at somebody and said, how did they get here? How did they do that? What do I have to do this? Well, here's a man with a golden touch, as you can hear. And if you want your business to grow, now might be the time to listen. And of course, I'm going to put this in early, Jim, but how do they get in touch with you?
Easy. I'm at jimbeach.com. Easiest
Spell it,
place, or
spell that for us, please.
JIMBEACH, just like it sounds, jimbeach.com.
Okay.
And or they can go to the schoolforstartupsradio.com to listen to today's radio show. And those are the two best places. Thank you for that, Steve.
Yeah, sure. And I'll tell you what, folks, if you're listening in, and you should, obviously you're listening in or I wouldn't be talking to you. You're listening in because you want your business to grow. And this is vital to your success is finding people who know how to put together a successful business. I was just mentioning to Jim as we just met here, and I said, hey, maybe we got to get on a stage and teach business success. And when you meet somebody who knows their stuff, I've owned 5 brick and mortar stores. So I come from a different perspective on how to make those stores more successful, as well as online speaking and doing that kind of stuff. And so Jim and I have different perspective on what's going to help you be more successful. Obviously, Jim has produced a lot more success, like 189 radio stations now. Is that what you said?
100, 5 days a week.
Oh, only 100. Okay.
Only 100.
Okay, so take it away. So what can you do for people now?
Well, I do have a paradigm that I try to share with people on how to start a business. And I think my beliefs are dramatically different from most people. And I think that's why it's successful. I think if you were to ask 100 people, are entrepreneurs creative people taking risks, doing things that they're passionate about? Do you agree with that definition of entrepreneurship close enough?
I think so, yeah.
Well, I think it's 100% wrong. And
Oh,
so that's why what I try to teach is a little different.
but isn't that
I,
what most entrepreneurs do, isn't it?
well, I don't know. I bet you
Okay.
didn't do it that way. Were you passionate about all 5 of your storefronts? Did you love them more than a child?
I think I did in the beginning.
Okay.
Then it faded away. Not like my kid, that's for sure. But
And did you raise a whole bunch of money or did you bootstrap?
I bootstrapped almost all of mine, and it was tough. I mean, like you said, the first one, it was an ice cream store. I thought I knew ice. That's why I tell people all the time. Small business entrepreneurs think they know what they're doing. They think because I've done this, I can go out and do this. Or like I worked at an ice cream store for 2.5 years. We did all this stuff, and 3 years later, I went, I think I could start my own ice cream store. And I knew nothing about profitability, about success, about doing all the stuff. And so it only took 2.5 years for the IRS to come in, and because I didn't even know to pay my taxes, right? And so and the IRS to come in and for me to be bankrupt. And so it was one of those deals where you say, boy, if you think, and like you say, so many of them start up, and that's why so many fail, I think, is because they start that way and they don't have the knowledge that you're offering right here. So what's your take on this?
Well, I don't believe in creativity, risk, or passion. And I think that you're more an example of this than you think, Steve. You weren't the first person to open an ice cream parlor. You copied that idea from somebody else.
That's
And I
right.
bet you copied a lot of your operational ideas and ways to keep the restaurant clean. And I bet you copied some marketing ideas. And that is the way we're supposed to do it. 93% of entrepreneurs are copies of existing businesses. So many people are sitting on the sidelines saying, when God hits me with my creativity lightning bolt, when he gives me an idea, oh
Oh,
boy, am I going to go crazy with it. But the thing is, that's not the way most people do it. Most people
good
do
point.
not have an original idea. And so you sit there waiting and waiting and waiting, and nothing happens.
That's a
What you're
good point.
supposed to do is find an idea, someone that's doing something that is cool, and bring it to your neighborhood and do it better than them. And so that's the way that typically it happens. We have thousands of hotels, but those are still entrepreneurs, and restaurant owners are still entrepreneurs. So I strongly advise find an idea that works and copy it. Now, we're not going to copy trademarks, copyrights, or patents. We're going to stay legal, but an idea, a business idea, is fair game. You're allowed to run an ice cream parlor, and you're allowed to copy the marketing that you saw the steak restaurant do that was effective. You're allowed to do that for your ice cream restaurant. So I'm not a fan of waiting for a new idea. Just go copy someone else's idea and do it better than them. My summer camp was a 100% copy of a different guy, a competitor of ours. He was National Computer Camp. We were American Computer Experience. He started Sunday at 3. We started Sunday at 3. He finished Friday at 3. We finished Friday at 3.
Oh,
He did it at Clark Crest Resort in Connecticut. We did it at MIT. Where would you rather send your kid? To MIT or Clark Crest Resort in Connecticut? And so we did the same thing. We just did it a whole lot better at better locations.
that's really a good point. I think, like you said, we think as entrepreneurs that we're going out, starting this new idea. Very few of us start a new idea. You're exactly right. Most of us take a concept or something that we're familiar with, somebody else who's already doing it, and we try and jump in so we can do it a little bit better. And I think that's the key that most of us don't get really right off the bat. I tell people all the time, if you're going to get into business, you should start with a mentor. I had a friend who he was a cook at a restaurant, and he was a Greek guy, and one of his Greek friends had a restaurant, a small restaurant, right? And one day, Psyche and I were talking, and he said, "Hey, I want to start a restaurant." And I went, "Oh, that'd be cool. I'm a great front man. You can tell by how I talk and how I act. I'm a great front man. And I believe that most restaurants really prosper if they've got a great front person." Now, it turns out that's not true at all. Okay. But Psyche said, "I want to be the manager and the out front person." And now he could barely speak English. Okay. And it was a real challenge. I'm like, I don't get how that will work because he didn't have the personality. He didn't know how to say hello to people. I mean, none of that stuff. And so he didn't include me in his next step. His next step was to go out and get funding from the little Greek restaurant. And he built a restaurant, a family restaurant, about 3 times the size of the little Greek restaurant with the help of that person. And I went, wow, that's cool that he got the money from that guy so he could start his restaurant. But what I neglected to pay too much attention to was he also got all of the business advice that this person had to offer. He went on to become, and his restaurant's still successful. And so if you know that for 30 years his restaurant has been successful, not because he was a great frontman, but because he got great advice from a mentor and someone who could teach him the skills. And that's what you teach, right, Jim?
Trying to, yes, yes. And I love some of the Florida Greek restaurants. There's the famous one just south of Tampa. I don't remember the name
I
of
think
it.
it's Tarpon Springs.
Tarpon
So
Springs,
it's
that's right.
just
Yes.
north of Tampa, and boy, did that Helen's or Ellen. Anyway, I
I
just
think it
ate
is
there.
Helen's or something like that. Helena's or
Yeah,
something. Yes.
Helena's, and I just ate there the other day, and I like you say, it's about 2.5 hours from me, but we go there every other month, I think, because I love Greek food. It's great stuff. But yeah, go ahead.
And so my second big point is financing, funding. I don't think that you should spend more than $5,000 to test your idea. And people say, well, you can't start a restaurant for $5,000. Well, I'm sorry, that's just not true. I will point to someone who has done it. I can find people who have done it. You know, the idea, the model is a little different. If you only have $5,000, you don't spend money quickly. You're very slow to spend money, and that's good. That's the idea. I don't want you spending money willy-nilly. I want you spending 2 weeks thinking about it before you spend $100 because that's the way you need to be at the beginning when you're bootstrapping. But bootstrapping requires that you, as the owner, get good at selling. You can't outsource the selling when you're bootstrapping. And that teaches you to front the business. You have to be the front man of your business. And so if you try to outsource that key component because you have money to hire a vice president of sales, you will never find out what your customers are thinking, who your customers are. You need to be having those conversations yourself. So I'm a big, big, big proponent of $5,000 limit for your startup capital. That's about what an American family spends on a week of vacation. So the question is, can you take one vacation less and start your business?
Yeah.
And so that makes it pretty
Now, can I ask some questions?
sure,
He
sure.
he says start your business for 5,000 bucks. And when you look into, like, let's say I'm going to build a restaurant, right? And I look into putting together my restaurant and I go, okay, what I'm going to need is I'm going to need to buy this building, which is $250,000. See, hold on.
Nope.
What I know, but when I look at, so I say I need to buy this building for $250,000. Then I need to buy all the equipment that goes in this building for another $200,000. And then I need to go ahead and put together all the food and stuff that I'm going to put in this restaurant for another $50,000. You know, that's one of those deals where that's where our thinking comes from. Right, Jim? That's where most of us as entrepreneurs think, oh, I'm going to go out and do this. So I go to the SBA and I borrow $500,000. And that is part of the problem, right, Jim?
Well, the SBA is not going to give you money unless you have already run a successful restaurant. I have done restaurant funding with the SBA. That is something I know a lot about. And you're not going to get a loan from the SBA until you've already run a successful restaurant and proven that you can do it. So, I, I've seen the $500,000 startup model. And let me ask you this, Steve. How many beers do you have to sell to recoup $500,000 versus
Uh,
how many beers do you have to recoup your $5,000.
yeah.
It's just a
Jim
huge difference.
Jim, what you're saying is most of us, when we put together our thought process for that startup, and I don't care if it's a shoe store or a restaurant, I don't care if it's a sales place. You don't have to go out and buy a building. You don't have to. So tell us what we should do, Jim.
You should rent the cheapest place you can find and bring in junk store furniture and have that be your theme for your first restaurant. The first restaurant should be a dive, a dump, a place that a salt bag fish place or something that you can start for $5,000. Don't go buy anything. You're probably going to need to renovate the bathroom, and that's where you're going to spend your money. Get the building as cheap as possible. Use a dive. I've seen people do this before, and they always start with a dump first, and then the second one is a show place. And you want to start with the show place first, and you need to start with the dump first. People get the order wrong.
That's a really good point. What he's talking about there is when we talk about testing your idea. That is testing your idea, not blowing all your money on this big concept and then going out of business. We have seen dozens and dozens of small businesses who go into debt like that, and a year and a half, 2 years later, they're out of business. And it's because they didn't know the real concept of proving that your business concept works. If you're doing a restaurant, that's this. If you're doing an attorney office, that's this. But you have to be the person out there selling what you think people want. And when you talk to them, you're going to find out. Jim, I've got a thing out there that I tell people all the time. If you want more business, you have to fill your calendar. And you only fill your calendar by meeting enough people and qualifying those people. And when you go to a networking event, people are always going, this is what I do. I do this, this. My business has been in business this long. I got a company that's been in business. Nobody cares. When you're qualifying people, you have to ask them certain questions. And that my whole concept is 3 minutes to yes, so that you can get that appointment. So when you're going out to do stuff, the opportune thing is to ask questions. So if you're out there fronting your business, as Jim just pointed out, right? He wants you to go ahead.
Oh. I'm going to be back in 1 second. You keep talking. I need to go get a power supply. I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay, deal. Okay, and so when you look at this, when we're doing this whole thing, I want you to understand that what Jim is saying is that we want to prove our business first. So start whatever you want to start. Do what you want to do, but do it within your budget. So start with just what's in your budget to begin with. Prove that concept, right? So if you're out there talking to people, if you're the front man, you need to ask more questions. If people say, no, I don't think I want to do that, or no, I wouldn't eat that kind of sandwich, or no, I wouldn't hire this kind of attorney, you'd say, fabulous. Tell me what kind of person you would hire. Tell me what kind of product you would buy. What are you looking for right now? And when you talk to 1,000 people who say, I want this, you'll get a better idea of what people are truly looking for, right, Jim?
Definitely, definitely. With my summer camp, we thought we were providing summer camp. And in probably week 2, we realized that every single one of our customers were the same in one particular way that we had never thought of. And we changed our marketing to reflect that one thing that they were all had in common. And that's when our company got on a rocket ship. We
Wow.
went explosive growth, 250% every year for 10 years in a row.
Wow.
Because we figured out this one thing. And that happened because I talked to mom and dad every night, every morning, and would just sit there and hang out with the parents as the kid went in. And we figured out our super formula because I was talking to parents, an hour a day.
There's the tip of the day for you folks. If you're as an entrepreneur out there thinking of starting your business or actually working in your business, the answer is you have to pivot. Jim was doing okay with that business. He wanted to do better. And what he learned was when he talked to the right people, he got the information that said, oh, I thought our target market was this. And I found out it was this. And once he pivoted, he changed everything. And 250% growth every year. Would you like to have that, folks? Would you like to have a growth like that? Just 1 year. Some of us say, I'll just take 1 year of 250%. Imagine only because you took advice from Jim Beach. Jim, how did they get a hold of you again if they want to get to know you better?
JimBeach.com. You can
J-
also go to my email address is jim@schoolforstartups.com. Schoolforstartups.com. And
okay.
I
And
answer
Beach
all
is
my own
spelled,
emails.
yeah, Jim Beach is Jimbeach. It's not Bee like beach stripe gum or whatever that used to be,
Yeah.
but it's Jim Beach, like you go into the beach. And so it's important. You want to learn how to be more successful? Jim can be the guy who will help you explode your. Would you like to explode your business? Would you like to have that opportunity? Would you like to start a new business and have success waiting for you on the other side of that startup line? Reach out to Jim. What else, Jim? What else we get to share with them today?
One more thing, passion. Passion is awesome for the church, the synagogue, the mosque, and for your spouse. But other than that, passion is not needed. Everyone says you have to love what you're doing and you have to be passionate about it. Well, that's just not necessarily true. Sometimes passion develops in the third or fourth year of a business. Sometimes passion comes in the second business, and you wouldn't have done the second business if you hadn't started the first business and learned from that. The second business wouldn't have been possible. Everyone says, I have to love what I do. I have to love it. No, you really don't. You just have to like it more than the job that you have.
Oh, there
And
you
if it's
go.
better than the job, then you should do it. But don't think you have to love it. That's just a crazy idea. That if it happens, then you're double fortunate. It's just icing on the cake. But don't sit around waiting for what your passion is. My passion is woodworking. I love to build furniture and stuff, but I'm just not good enough at it yet to support my family. So I do things that allow me to have more vacation time so that I can go to woodworking school more. So I have to realize that I can't make a living doing that, but I can spend a lot of time doing it if I start a business that I like. And so don't wait around for a passion to occur. It may never happen, or it may happen the third business. There's this idea called the corridor principle. And life is like a long, long hallway with rooms to the right and to the left. And you can't see into those rooms until you start walking down the pathway of life. And you have to get halfway down the hall before you can see what are in all of those rooms, all of those opportunities. And if you don't start walking the path, you never get to see what's in those rooms. And so you have to start, even if you're not passionate about your idea. Passion is icing on the cake. Don't expect it to happen first time.
So, Jim, do you have courses or something that people can take from you?
Yeah, sure. We do. We have online classes and then one-on-one coaching and stuff. A lot of the coaching that I do is helping people find that first idea, that creativity idea. I'm very good at working with people to say, what about this business? And then they go, oh, yeah, that would be interesting. And finding something that's right in front of them that they hadn't been able to see. But we do all levels of coaching up to $25 million businesses.
Wow, I want to be one of those. $25
Yeah.
million. Yeah. You know, what's interesting there is Jim has said so many things that you guys can take to heart. One of them, I'll give you an example of what I knew a guy, a lady, I said a guy. I know a lady who was, she loved doing like knitting and stuff. And one day she was doing something and she put a button on, did something. But as I talked to her, she said, what I do now is I sell buttons to people who make the garments that I used to make. And I went, what? And she went, well, I used to make these, and then I met all these people. And one of the biggest challenges was finding the right buttons. And I went, finding buttons is hard? See, if you've never done it, who
Yeah.
knows, right? And she made a living now of getting buttons made to fit what those people needed. That's her job. So her passion was garments. Her profitable business turned out to be buttons. And you're like, well, holy cow, who would have thought that, right? Now, ask the button people, they'll tell you all the time, well, buttons is a great business. But most of us don't understand that until we get into that hallway and look down and say, hey, what about that? Very good information, Jim. I loved it. Jim, we've been on for a little while now, and it must be our time to wrap it up. So, any last words of wisdom besides that last one?
When you take all three of those and add it up together, it changes entrepreneurship. It makes it available to anybody. And so I would encourage people to reconsider their entrepreneurial dreams, get started, grow a business. If you need help, both Steve and I are here to do that, and you can get it done. If Steve and I can make it work, you can too.
Yeah, and that's really the truth. I mean, I tell people, I mean, I failed miserably out of my first business, and it took me a second business and then a third business before I really made a profit. And you learn stuff. You learn that, hey, maybe partners isn't the way to go in some of your businesses. Maybe this isn't the way to go. And you talk to the people who can coach you and help you along the way to make great decisions. One decision can change your business. One decision can take you from this place to that place immediately. And so it's really tough when you don't get that one word of wisdom. You're sitting there going, why is it not success? Why is it not working? Why can't reach out to us? We would love to help you. You've been listening to the Know, Like, and Trust podcast. Jim, if you'll hold on a second, when I go to the break, we'll be able to talk together. But folks, reach out to us, and I want you to subscribe. This has been a great podcast for helping you find what kind of business you want to start up and how to contact the person who can help you be more successful. And it's jimbeach.com, right?
That's correct. Thank you.
Yeah. And so reach out, look at his website, see what questions you have. Maybe you've already started your business and maybe you need help. Maybe you haven't started your business and you want information and advice. Reach out, jimbeach.com. I'm Steve Sapato. You can reach me at steve@stevesapato.com. And remember to click that subscribe button. It should be right there in front of you. Click subscribe. And I look forward to you and more about you and helping you be more successful in the future. Hope you have a blessed day. God bless.
Yeah.
How did you do that?